We back. Okay. What's up, YouTube? I had to come back with a whole new setup because I was tired of getting cut off, and it's just all about running everything properly this year. It's like no cutbacks, you feel me? No slacks. Just do it to the standard that you're supposed to do it, basically. So, went out, got me a proper camera to do this work, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not on my phone with all this content, probably about to give me a mic. But yeah, so I wanted to do this video to kind of do a story time about how I met the great Nipsey Hussle. So today is his birthday, and I wanted to make sure I got this video out because I love him so much. Very near and dear to my heart and a lot of people around me. And I personally feel like I never really told the story of how it happened. I feel like people just know that I worked with Nipsey Hussle, but I wanted to kind of shed light on the details, you feel me? And kind of like go into why that was like a major like thing for me personally and for the brand. So I guess honestly it all like started with like it was all a dream like for real though, cuz I really, let's say, I definitely had intentional thoughts to meet Nipsey Hussle. I just didn't know when or if it would actually happen. So when it happened, I was like, oh snap, like this shit really worked. So, and when I say this stuff really worked, I mean manifestation. So it's like, okay, I know everybody think about meeting their favorite rapper, like, you know what I'm saying, or like favorite person, period, but definitely a favorite rapper, like favorite artist, whatever musician as a kid growing up, like that was your main thing. I wouldn't say Nipsey was like a favorite growing up, absolutely not. We didn't have Nipsey growing up, but when it came to like me understanding business, getting into my age of that, which was around like that, like super into the thick of my business, probably like 25, 26, 27. So like getting into that age and that flow of being an entrepreneur, the woes and just the stresses that it takes on the mental. And I'm not a musician, but I'm an artist in general. So it's like just the artist brain and navigating all of that is crazy. So even having him as an inspiration to take the energy off of just being a musician, but to focus his brand around being a businessman and an entrepreneur was like crazy to me. So I was super inspired just from that. And then when I think just diving deeper into like him as a person, artist, and then as a brand, the levels and the aesthetic of his brand in terms of the merchandise, the music platform. He had a marketing agency. I don't know if y'all knew that. Marathon Agency. The weed, like everything that he had were like aesthetics and levels that he had already built that I was like already interested in doing. So it was just crazy to see like somebody as a young, black thriving entrepreneur who was doing what you would consider like out of the box, things like, but it was super successful. So it's like even just down to the clothing line first. Like I started my brand with a clothing line. Like shout out to Indy. We rocking some new merch right now. But it's like that's hard. Like starting a brand is hard. Like being consistent with a brand is hard. It's very challenging mentally and physically and spiritually, like especially if you don't really have outside inspiration or outside like validation in terms of like just people telling you to like keep doing that shit. Like it'll be a nice wave of that happening when you first bust out. If you blessed enough to have a nice, crowd of people around you that are receptive to your brand, you gonna get your ones, your day ones for sure. But people start to leave and situations happen, life happen, you know what I'm saying? Brands go up and down. So it's like certain things might not be consistent, and when those times happen in the brand, it's really important to have either a mentor, a guide, friends, family, like somebody to talk to, YouTube, information, resources, right? To get past that pastime of the detriment of being an entrepreneur. And I feel like at the time I was going through that personally is when I found Nipsey Hussle in terms of like the business side of Nipsey. Because I think like listening to music, especially like at least like high school, early college. Like I said, I knew who Nipsey was, but you don't dive deeper into that until you start to hear people talk. So when he started doing those interviews and started really being in front of the people in a sense of like, I'm talking about this music, but I'm really talking about this business. That's when I started to perk my ears up, because at that same time, I was pushing artists to be focused on music, but be focused on the music business as well. So outside of everything else that I do in terms of the clothing and working with organizations, I'm also a manager and a brand manager. So it's like, okay, outside of just, booking shows and curating shows and making sure certain things are good on the outside of the music brand, that inside business has to be as, if not better, than the outside. So that's important, and it's nobody still, honestly, in my opinion, in the actual industry, and it wasn't at that time anybody in the actual industry putting forth that energy to kind of like teach the up and coming musicians like what was up in terms of the game of being an independent artist, because it's a different game when you a independent musician on the up and up versus you just trying to sign a deal. You going a totally different way in that route. But for the ones that's trying to be independent, that's my audience. I talk to y'all. Like, I create platforms, shows, opportunities, booking opportunities, ways for you to get funding, all type of situations for the independent artist looking to create a business in their art, right? So finding an artist who had kind of created that for himself, I was all in. So I was just super turned into his mind and his consciousness and how his brain worked. So I think that got me like super locked in, just obsessing with videos and watching how Nipsey moved and watching how his persona was his brand. Like, he not changing nothing. And that's super important to know as a brand owner, as the ambassador of your brand, as the CEO of your company, as the artist, the entrepreneur, the leader, or whatever you doing. You can't care about nothing. Like, for real. Like, you can't care about outside opinions. You can't care about your negative thoughts. You can't care about the doubt that might creep in. You can't care about the comparison that you might do to another person or another brand, another company, whatever. You gotta be super 10 toes down and like overconfident in yourself and your capability to do whatever you're doing and push that message. And Nipsey did that, and that was something that super like duper inspired me, because I was already in that energy, but life be lifing. So it was certain things, and I might do some videos on those things, but it was certain things that took me out for real, like of my focus, of focusing and being 10 toes down and super overconfident in myself and my capabilities. So finding Nipsey at the time that I did was just like, yo, lit. Like someone who understands, right? So, and then just like, I think since I'm so spiritual, I don't know, man, manifestation and certain things when it comes to the law of attraction or whatever, like, it just comes natural to me. Like, I naturally know how to just manifest. So when it comes to getting what I want or strategizing how I want to put my business into play, it's like my mind alchemizes like chess, and I ain't never played chess a day in my life, but I know how to play chess with this brand. So I knew just off the energy that I was already feeling from his interviews, like, we too much alike, bro. Like, you doing music, you a rapper, but I'm coming from the entrepreneurship side, and that's the side of him that I resonated with. So I knew, like, I don't know how it's going to happen, but I'm going to put this thought bubble out there to God, and I'm going to hope, you get it. And the angels deliver that and land me the opportunity. And I kind of just left it there and went about my life. Like, for real. But keeping that in the forefront in terms of every time I seen a video of Nipsey, or anytime, like, just, it's in your mind, like, I'm going to meet you one day. Like, I'm going to see you one day. Like, and it's not even on no fan type stuff. It's like, I'm really going to be around you one day. I'm going to be working with you one day. I'm going to be crossing paths with you one day for some reason, out of nowhere, period. That's just what I knew and how I am in general with anybody, for real, that I know I'm either want to work with or am going to work with. It's just, I see visions and I be knowing what's not everything, because, like, you ain't supposed to know everything, you feel me? But God give you the gift of discernment for a reason. And I feel like, I be knowing. So when I knew that energy I was feeling from watching certain interviews and peeping certain game from him, I'm like, whenever we lock in, it's gonna be something special. And I just, you keep that to yourself. That's like a confirmation, like, of a thought and a feeling. But then when it happened, that's crazy. Like, that's crazy. Okay, so I got cut off, and that was wild because I was right when I said that I actually attracted Nipsey in person, which makes me feel like Nipsey's energy was pulling up and saying, what's up? I'm very spiritual, so I think like that. I operate like that all the time. So I actually have no doubt in my mind that was Nipsey's energy. So what's up, Nip? But outside of that, so I guess like part 2-ish. So actually meeting him was crazy because, like, I don't know if y'all ever met y'all or at least one of y'all favorite people in person before, but it's just like a certain shock factor that happens first. But like, I'm a business owner, so it's like I'm not trying to be seen on a fan level per se, but the admiration was crazy for sure. So basically, I guess, like, just to back up a little bit, the reason why I met Nipsey Hussle was because of an event that we threw together in Cleveland, Ohio. So I'm from Cleveland. I do several events, curations, partnerships, marketing campaign strategies type situations with organizations, nonprofits, and businesses and entrepreneurs. But in this situation for this particular project, this was like a voting campaign type of event. So we were looking to get some education behind millennials understanding the power of not just like voting, but kind of like the education of like the vocabulary and like the breaking down of like what's your councilman, what's your council person do, what is their actual job, or like why is it important to understand gentrification, because based on like zip codes and certain stuff, you might get certain things, might not get certain things based on where you live. So, he really came to Cleveland to talk about that conversation. So we had to pitch it to his team, the marathon. We had to contact his management. And honestly, in the brainstorming process of this event, we weren't even thinking, Nipsey Hussle. I was thinking personally Joey Badass. I was thinking about Joey Badass. A couple other political people I was thinking about in terms of like rappers and like I guess like influencer type people, so that we're not boring our audience, So, but I know for sure the main rapper artist, if we were gonna pull in a rapper, I was thinking Joey Badass for sure. And we hit his team up, we just didn't hear nothing back. So I was like, okay. It was a few other ones, I just can't remember. I know we hit up Big Sean too. A few people, like, we just hit up, and it was just like, we hit up Nipsey because I'm thinking like, oh snap, it literally just popped in my head, like Nipsey Hussle. So I'm like, oh, cool. Looked on Instagram, found out they email or whatever was right there. So grabbed it, boom, shot them an email, put our budget in there, and they got back to us within like less than 24 hours. So like, it was the next day, but it was still less than 24 hours, but it was literally the next day. So, and I had missed the call 3 times, so that's why it's crazy, because like, when you just be moving and grooving and it's like, what you think is spam. Now I answer all spam calls, even if it is spam, but like, I thought it was spam. So I'm like, okay, you just be moving and grooving and you just see this number calling you, and I'm thinking like, who keep calling me from California? I ain't got no money for you, you feel me? So I wasn't trying to answer it. So I answered it, like I ended up answering, and it was JP, his manager. So he was like, what's up? This is JP from the marathon, and representing Nipsey Hussle. We got your email in regards to the event that y'all trying to have him come out to. And I was like in shock, cause like, whew, I'm in shock again because the energy was crazy, because it's like it's right in front of you. It just pulled up. What you wanted and what you was manifesting and what you was doing just pulled up in front of you. So it's like, how you about to handle this situation? How you gonna handle this call? So I'm like, oh snap, okay, cool. So I get in my business personality like ASAP, and I just start you know, referencing the email, referencing our budget, what we can and can't do, how we would get him to Cleveland, which is, you know, we got to pay for his flight. They actually wanted 60K. So this is just, I guess, BTS information. Like, in order for Nipsey to perform at that time, so Saudi, whatever, like, anyway. But in terms of, like, what they wanted for him to, if he was going to perform, they wanted 60K. So probably, like, that was 2018. So he was probably asking for more, probably like around 2019 or, you know, right after that, or just in general. Like, I don't know if that was a discount, but he asked us for 60K. And we was like, well, we don't really need him to rap, you feel me? Like, we just want him to, like, talk on a panel and just, like, kind of speak to the people and, you know, kind of parlay. So they was like, oh, okay, cool. And I was like, our budget for real is 25. So what can we do for 25? So he was like, okay, can we figure out how to maybe make him an extra 25 some type of way, and we can finesse it? So I'm like, okay, I'm thinking, like, you know, what are the options? So he's like, okay, well, usually when he travel, you know, we might do a club appearance, we might do a walkthrough if we're not doing a performance. I'm like, okay, let me try to figure some stuff out. So since I'm already, like, plugged in, like, I guess the, Cleveland music scene and I guess the Ohio music scene and all of that stuff, like, I'm, like, knowing what people to call, what platforms, what clubs, XYZ. They had just had Nipsey at Medusa in Cleveland, so I knew I couldn't do that because whoever booked that, they booked it already. So it's like, okay, the budget probably ain't there again to book them again right back. So I'm like, all right, I can't do them, but they a real hot club in Cleveland. So, but I'm like, okay, let me see outside of Cleveland, maybe like Columbus, Cincinnati, you know, Youngstown, who in that area club owner wise will be interested in booking a Nipsey for a walkthrough. So did some fishing, found some information. It was actually a club in Cincinnati, so shout out to them. But they ended up booking him for 30K to just come through and walk at their club. So they was gonna hit Cleveland and then go to Cincy. So that happened and we finessed it. We got him. Basically, we booked him. I believe we had to get him and like 2 of his teammates there. His security guard was there as well. But yeah, so when they actually like got to Cleveland though, it was crazy because they wanted us in charge of like everything, all the way down to like his breakfast options. Like, so I had to like figure out like what he liked to eat, like what you like to do, you feel me, in your spare time, because we had to prepare for like the venue and all that stuff. So we was like, at the time that they was gonna actually land in Cleveland, it was gonna be like 9 a.m. So our event probably wasn't until like 2 p.m. So we had to kind of finesse and figure out some options for them to do if they wanted to, you know what I'm saying? But it's just common courtesy when you bring an artist to the city, you gotta have some, at least a list of things that they could potentially do if they're not from this city. So we was getting all that together. I remember they, you know, told us what type of breakfast spots they usually eat at in California. So we kind of, which is mom and pop type, organic, you know, homegrown spots. So we made sure we threw some of those at them for Cleveland. And it was just like, I remember when it was actually time to like go meet him, they got lost. So they got lost downtown Cleveland looking for the venue, which was Cleveland State University. So Nip and his team, they got lost. It was Nip, JP, and his bodyguard and somebody else. I can't think of who it was, but it was somebody else from Marathon. But they was all riding together and they got lost, and we had to go meet them. And it wasn't like they got lost in a crazy area. They got lost like downtown, headed to see it, like to CSU. But it was like, it was confusing if you're not from Cleveland. But basically, we met them in an area where it was confusing, traffic wise, and just like, you know, like parking garage type stuff. So we met them, and then I had to like, ooh, this is crazy. Like even just going through this memory. So I had to go meet them in my Nissan. Like I had a Nissan at the time. I just got a new car. I just got a Jeep. This is crazy. Like I just got a Jeep. But at the time I had my Nissan that I had for like what, 6 years at that point. So I literally was like, this is crazy. Like I'm about to pull up and meet Nipsey kind of like before everybody at the event for real. Like this is wild. So I had prepared for this moment because I had already knew like, okay, one, they already said yes to the contract. We already got them in Cleveland. So if I do get idle time to be around Nip, first thing I need to do is give him my merch. So I already had this planned in my head in terms of like preparing to get some merchandise printed, preparing to get, you know, at least look at him to see what size he would be. You know, it's giving large. You feel me? Like, it's giving large. So I made sure I got him a large Indie Classic black hoodie and a large Indie Classic gray hoodie. So I'm like, all right, boom. So I had already had these hoodies printed probably like at least 2 weeks before they had, you know, landed in Cleveland. So when I was asked to pull up on them, I already had the hoodies ready to go. Like, so I'm like, all right, bet. So I pull up on, and I'm not asking like, you know, permission, like, to give you this shit. Like, this is happening, like, regardless. Like, y'all need some help in terms of directions. That ain't nothing but God, because I got some hoodies for you. Like, so boom. So I pull up. It's me and my homie Tyler. So I'm like, this is crazy. So I pull up on them. We in my Nissan. And soon as I pull up, they in this big black truck, like a Suburban or something. It was crazy. And soon as we pull up, he rolled down his back window. And he just inhaling a crazy big smoke cloud. And he like, what up, young blood? And I was just like, ah! Like, it was just crazy. I was like, oh my God, what's up? And he was like, where we going? Where we going? So we end up driving ahead of them, and they end up following us in the actual, you know, parking garage, and where we were supposed to be at the actual one. So we end up parking in there, which is like, it was connected to the university. So we had to go through the back end because it's like, it's Nip. So we couldn't just like go through the student center, you feel me? So we go through, and like soon as like they get out the car, I like peep, they opened the trunk already to put some of his stuff in the back. So I'm like, I got these hoodies for him. You feel me? Like, here you go. So he threw them in the trunk, and I'm thinking like, oh man, I don't know if that was a good play, because like, what if they forget? Like, what if they forget the stuff is in the trunk? But that was just my anxiety, you feel me? So boom. So then we walking through the little alleyways or whatever, through the parking garage. Got to get them in the actual auditorium where we about to have this panel. So my energy is just like, I'm gonna put some clips in here too. My energy is just at an all-time high, because I'm just thinking to myself like, one, I'm about to walk out there, my mom and my brother about to be out there, I'm about to walk out with Nipsey Hussle. Like, I did not plan this part. This part wasn't planned. We done did rehearsals for this event. We done, you know, talked to the panelists in advance about what we talking about. We done planned from like, you know, weeks, months in advance. It was not planned for me to go meet Nipsey Hussle and bring him into the entrance of that event. That was not planned. That was God's plan. So when we actually like start walking in there, I start bringing all that to fruition, like in my mind, like, dang, like we about to walk through and everybody about to be right there. Like, this is wild. So, and I'm contacting people, you know, behind the scenes, like, we coming, da da da. So when we get there, the actual entrance, it's crazy, because like in my mind, it was literally just like that. Everybody was standing right there, like, just looking, and like, it was just crazy. It was monumental, because one, we didn't know what type of reception that would be for him to come to Cleveland, because it's like, you from LA, that's not something that you thinking about. I mean, maybe you got some super duper diehard Cleveland fans out there in California, which I'm pretty sure you do, but I just don't think that was like a go-to, even on a tour stop. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I really feel like we did something monumental by bringing him even to Cleveland's eyesight. Like, even still, like, because it wasn't even in the capacity of rap. So that's like, I ain't asking you to rap. You feel me? Like, and I love you. I love all the rap music, but it's like, I just want to talk to you. I just want you to talk to the people of my community. I just want you to spit some game. The game you be talking in these raps. Like, I just want you to talk to us real quick and get us in that energy. And that's exactly what we did. And it was through the lens of politics. And that was cool too, because that was also something that you don't see Nipsey doing. You don't see him on some like political type shit, thinking and talking about like politics in a sense of like really trying to do something, because it's like, it's only so much you could do. He was a felon at the time, so it was just like, but the energy and the passion that he had about the topics that we talked about was crazy. Like, we talked about gentrification, we talked about why certain societies are the way they are, we talked about why certain areas and communities are built the way they are, and why certain money trickles down to certain areas, and why it goes to other areas that don't look like our areas, and why those areas are maintained. We talked about just the fact that he was a felon and he couldn't vote, and how that affects the outcome of his input in the community, and how it was so important to, since that is a fact, create your own business, start your own wave, create your own infrastructure so that you can independently give back to your community however you see fit. There's no rules and restrictions to you at that point. You doing what you need to do based on your heart and how you want to give back. So that was just, you know, a monumental situation. And all the way down to, like, you know, my artist got to perform. Just, she was already gonna perform anyway, but he was there to see her hit the stage. Like, he stayed a little bit. Like, we got to talk to him, like, behind the little I guess behind the stage or whatever, before the panel or whatever. We got to talk to him. He was taking pictures. He was real cool with everybody. We ended up doing a like a question session, and they was asking him questions, and it was just a vibe. And then it was just like, it was just a crazy connection that we had, and we made, like, it's like when you meet somebody and you know it's gonna be more, you know what I'm saying? We talked about more. It was conversations in walking about more and future, and stay locked in with me, and, you know, keep JP number, and, you know, it was conversations. And it was just, even where I was mentally at the time, it's like how he was talking to me was like I was already big dog, and I'm like thinking to myself, I'm still little dog. But it's like, no, like, I was already big dog back then. And it was like I just didn't really, you know, unlock certain parts of that yet, just, you know, based on certain shit. But it's just like, the fact that Nipsey Hussle saw that shit in me is crazy, and I ain't really even got to unlock that and unpack that, and, like, you know, think about that. Like, I looked at that man in his eyes. I felt that man's energy. Like, that man gave me a hug. I felt that man's body on my body. Like, that was energy, like a whole energy exchange. Some chains clinking against my, man, what? Like, man, what? That man is, because I don't even like saying was, is abundant energy, pure abundance, pure success. And to touch that energy, that's like, ooh, I just got chills just now. That's like when a nigga meet Jesus or some shit. Like, that's some real energetic, you know, high notes right there. So, you know, I just wanted to relish on that story and pay, you know, a super high homage to the great, because that's really, like, not an understatement. We not saying Nipsey the Great for no reason. Like, if you an entrepreneur and you up and coming and you trying to understand how to navigate mentally and, like, physically the amount of, like, strategy that you got to put together to build a business, studying Nipsey Hussle is a must. Studying Nipsey's strategy is a must. Thinking about how he put things together and how he executed is, like, number one. Like, for a black kid too, for a black artist, for a black entrepreneur, for a black creative, like, that never changed the energy, never changed his aura. You know what I'm saying? He changed his inside. He never really changed his outside, though. It's like, you don't stop being yourself. You just grow. Like, but you don't take away the things that make you you. And, like, him rocking our brand and being seen in our hoodie, in that indie hoodie, and TMZ capturing that, and that being, like, viral. That was, like, the first time for real. Like, we went viral, I guess, like, the first time with Sid the Kid, but, like, that was the first time that I actually, like resonated with a certain, like, vibration from the reason why we going viral. Like, that shit was crazy. Like, because the reason is, it's intentional when everybody put your brand on. But if you know a Nipsey Hussle, you know that Nipsey don't rock nothing but the marathon clothing. Like, we not rocking nothing but that Crenshaw hoodie. Like, that was it. So to even see him rocking indie on his chest like that, to even see him like putting that on his body, that was crazy. And then it's like, it got passed around his house. And I used to say that with my brother. We used to say, we know somebody else in that house got that hoodie. We know, you know, Lauren done put it on, you feel me? We know that, you know, his sister done wore it, somebody done wore it. And then we looked up and we seen it at the Marathon family dinner. We seen it on, it was either a nephew or somebody nephew or a little brother or something, but somebody had on that indie hoodie. And that's, you know, that's what I want. Like, it's a household name, you know what I'm saying? But for the right energies to attract to it, like, and to get Nipsey on our radar, like, while he was on his victory lap, like, that's priceless. So I just want to officially say thank you to Nipsey, like, cause I wasn't in the headspace. I don't even know if I said thank you like that day. I was just so in shock back in 2018. I don't even know, but I love that man and I respect him so much, and the legacy that he left is abundantly respected. And if you come to the art house in Cleveland, Ohio, you gonna see how much we as indie rock with Nipsey. You gonna go through that property and you gonna see that Nipsey inspiration for sure and always. And man, I'll be back on here probably, you know, a few like days to talk about some more topics that I just feel like are important to talk about. I think I want to dive deeper into like imposter syndrome and why creatives should think more positive about themselves and all type of stuff. So I'm gonna hop in here some more, but peace out.